Hey, how's it going everyone? Tazen here, today bringing some more Final Fantasy news and discussions, and a lot coming from Final Fantasy VII Remake. So we've got a lot of news, information, various potential leaks and rumours regarding Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now again, firstly, disclaimer, always take these as never being set in stone unless they are confirmed or even presented to us from Square Enix themselves. I like to look at these as potential possibilities, especially at the time of this recording, and then talk about the benefits and detriments of those, and also depending on whether you're watching this later and information has since been proven false or something, then I then like to look at those information as somewhat as intelligent predictions or estimated predictions, just based on information we've heard, our imagination. But again, don't consider anything true unless Square Enix have said so themselves. So firstly, we've got some new information from Jason Schreier, who's the editor and writer at Kotaku. Now what he has said in regards to someone questioning him on Twitter, they asked him, so could we possibly be getting at least Cyberpunk, The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, George R.R. Martin's From Software game, 1 to 2 Ubisoft AAA games, and Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1 in the first half of next year, this referring to 2020. And what's interesting is Jason Schreier has come out and said, based on what I've heard, yes to all of those. 2020 is going to be wild. So this is very interesting. Now, this is talking about the first half of 2020. Now, Jason Schreier is a very reputable source and a professional in the journalist industry, especially with video games primarily, of course. So one, there's a lot more on the line when he says something, both in the sense that he has a reputation with Hold, and also he has a lot more inside sources than other people who may be just coming on the internet to voice some information about the Final Fantasy VII Remake. So in regards to whether this is true, there's more chances that it could be based on it coming from him. At the end of the day, we won't know unless Square Enix reveal this information themselves. Now I think 2020 may be the year for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and they just take into consideration things like, one, the development time of the game, even considering into possibility, some sort of hiccups along the way. I think 5 years is considered sort of a good cycle when it comes to a game, and also take into consideration that the PlayStation 5 or the next generation PlayStation and Xbox may be coming out sometime 2020, even if it's at the end of 2020. And I think this game is something that will come out either again before the PlayStation 5 or at the very latest during the release of the PlayStation 5 to have some form of cross-generational platform release. Now, I'm very happy if this does come out in 2020, even if it's the first half, because I think, for me at least, I'm very patient. I'm happy to wait as long as possible because I want this game to be as best as it possibly can be and have as most in it as it possibly can have. So I feel like anything in this year, for me at least, I feel like is not enough time. Or I shouldn't say not enough time, but for any more reason that they can push it out, the more that they can get into this game or the more that they can polish it. They're just my thoughts though, but we've got some more information regarding Final Fantasy VII Remake coming to the Xbox One as a possibility. So it's recently put up on GameStop Ireland's website, a listing for Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Xbox One, retailing at €74.99. Now this is very interesting that this is showing up on a GameStop listing. This can always be a mistake in that someone's accidentally put the Xbox One version in or something like that. But it's also interesting that this is GameStop themselves, and at the time at least of me making this video, this website is actually still currently functioning, so it's interesting to see that it's still staying up there. Now again, this is a game that is more than likely to be coming across multiple consoles, especially when they said that coming first to PlayStation 4 back in one of the trailers in 2015. Hinting that this is something that is going to be coming out on other systems, whether that's Xbox One and PC or just Xbox One or even the future generation consoles, now taking consideration where they are in development and how far it may be off for the next generation of consoles. But the fact that this is showing up may allude to that the timed exclusivity may not be as long as we thought or may not be existent. And maybe the reasons behind this could be something due to when this game is sort of aligning its release with that of the next generation of consoles. If this happens to be coming out maybe 6 months before the PlayStation 5, there may not be much time to allow that timed exclusivity to then release on the Xbox One, when really that could be the release of the next generation of Xbox consoles. So it may not work out that well, and also this game may be something that maybe cost production wise, they do want to get this out right on all the platforms as soon as possible. even if the Xbox One isn't considered, again, as much of a popular console in the Eastern market, but in the West, they may be able to get some extra sales from that. But it also comes down to the deal with Sony for the exclusivity, stuff of which I obviously do not have any details or much awareness of how that works, but it's still exciting to see that this may also be something that is coming out sooner than we think on the Xbox One, and whether that can allude to that this just may be a push in terms of getting it out all the current generation of systems before the next generation of consoles come out. And then recently we've also got another picture that surfaced on someone's phone who goes by the name of Soldier_First Class, and he just put this picture here of Walmart Canada having a listing up for Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now this image has since been deleted, but it's interesting that it's now shown up on another large company online and in a different part of the world. So again, interesting things to see here and take from this. And then going on to the voice actors for Final Fantasy VII Remake. So during the State of Play trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake, the voice actors stood out to many of us, especially Cloud Strife's voice acting, because to me, it very much sounded somewhat like Ray Chase, who voiced Noctis in Final Fantasy XV, but definitely did not sound like Steve Burden, who has voiced Cloud in the previous iterations of the Final Fantasy compilation material, as well as Kingdom Hearts. So again, it's very interesting that it sounds different, but now we've got information, at least on Steve Burden's Twitter page. It's been updated to now no longer say he's the voice actor of Cloud Strife in Final Fantasy VII. This is interesting that's been removed, especially the timing of it after the trailer for State of Play. So what does this mean? Could this have something to do with, again, legal reasons, just not being able to reveal that information in terms of NDA? Or is it something that he is no longer the voice actor for Cloud Strife? This will be interesting to see. Sephiroth's voice, it still sounds somewhat like George Newbern, especially when you said Cloud at that end bit. It seriously sounded like him, but again, it could be someone else too, because it sounds like Bo Billingsley is also not the voice actor for Barrett in this iteration of Final Fantasy VII, whereas he was the voice actor for Barrett in Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. So it'll be interesting to see some of the change-ups and stuff, and if we're getting really, again, a fresh perspective of brand new voice actors for all the characters in the game, or whether any of them may be reprising their roles from other Final Fantasy VII medium, like Vincent, Yuffie, and so on, from some of the Advent Children and Dirge server content there. So yeah, we'll see how that progresses along. But yeah, make sure to always take everything discussed as thoughts, ideas, potential possibilities, never set in stone unless Square Enix comes out with this information. And this is what I want to lastly get onto, Square Enix themselves. So the Final Fantasy VII World Orchestra concert is coming up just before their presentation at E3, and it's now been announced that Yoshinori Kitase, who's going to be flying out to LA and hosting the Final Fantasy VII Orchestra concert. So this is really exciting, one, because he's going to be on location, especially near E3, so he may be gearing up for huge reveals and presentations at E3, but there may also be more coming along for Final Fantasy VII Remake prior to E3 during this orchestra concert. It's very interesting to hear maybe they will reveal a brand new trailer at this concert, more information, or again, it could be Yoshinori Kitase being placed in the right location so he's there at E3 for huge reveals for the game. So I'm very excited for this, and we'll see how we go when E3 comes along. Now moving on to some more Final Fantasy VII news, and specifically regarding Final Fantasy VII on Nintendo Switch. So there were some bugs with Final Fantasy VII on Nintendo Switch that have annoyed quite a few people, but we've since received a brand new patch for the Switch version 1.1, that has actually fixed 3 issues in the game. The first being that now after boss battles in the field, the music will not reset to the beginning, so it will continue the song along as to where it left off when you went into battle. The second is that at the beginning and ending of FMV cutscenes, there was always a frame that was black, and that's been fixed, so you now just get the proper FMV showing. And then lastly, one part in the game is that there was the wrong music that was playing during a certain scene, and that is apparently now been fixed to reflect the right music at that point in time. I think this is great. Even though these are small change of life things, they actually do improve your experience with the game, especially the music one, because a lot of these tracks I want to be able to listen all the way through, and if you're going into battle, you know, again, within 30 seconds to a minute of the actual song being played out, you never really get to hear the entire song because it's always resetting. So this is great news. And then lastly, we've got some more exciting news for Final Fantasy, because it's now just had 61 of its albums released on Spotify for streaming. So we've got all the main albums for Final Fantasy on Spotify now, and we've also got some of the side albums like the piano collections for certain games like Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy X, as well as other soundtracks like the Final Fantasy Tactics original soundtrack and Final Fantasy Mystic Quest remastered soundtrack. This is great. So again, if you haven't had the easy accessibility to actually purchase some of the Final Fantasy soundtracks physically, or even find them that easily digitally for sale, this is a great way to just be able to stream them at the least and get to experience a lot of these soundtracks, especially if you're hearing some of them for the very first time. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts on anything discussed below. Some very exciting stuff to think about and talk about, and also very exciting stuff to come for E3. I hope we get a lot of new information for both Final Fantasy VII Remake and other things in the works. So anyways, let me know your thoughts below. Always enjoy having great conversations with you all, just going over a lot of things out of imagination, a lot of things that are sort of coming up revealing. Even if they end up coming out to being false, we get to take something from that and sort of expand upon, you know, what could be possible and what may not be possible. So yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Have an awesome rest of the week, and until the next video, stay spot on.